It's Mario's 35th anniversary this year, and whether you're picking up the latest release, the newest port, or a small console to collect dust on a shelf in a couple of weeks' time, there's no shortage of options when it comes to platformers starring Nintendo's lead guy. But what if I told you that there are some amazing platformers that don't star Mario, and some that could even give our favourite chunky plumber a run for his coin? If you don't believe me, well, hear me out. What's up everybody, my name's Gary from the Nintendo Village, and in this video we're going to be going through 10 different platformers that don't have Mario as the main star. Some of these are absolute bangers, and one of these you're probably not going to agree with me, but you're going to have to stick around to see which one it is and let me know if I'm wrong. So let's get on with it. First up on the list, the game we all know about, it's a little, well massive indie darling known as Shovel Knight. One of the greatest games to have ever come from Kickstarter, Shovel Knight, or Shovel Knight Treasure Trove as it goes by nowadays, is more than just an homage to games of the NES and Super NES era. It plays like the games that you remember from yesteryear, but with a dash of a modern flair. Treasure Trove has 4 main campaigns as well as other modes, including a Smash Bros style beat 'em up. So there's a fair amount of game included in this one single package. Shovel Knight has some incredibly tight controls that make pogoing off your foes' heads with your trusty garden utensil feel totally natural, and it's a joy to play. The world here is pixel perfect, from the tiny details of the rather curiously quirky world, to the homages and its retro inspirations, straight to the toe-tapping brilliance of its chip-tuned soundtrack. Each of the main campaigns can be bought separately on the eShop, but trust me, you don't want to miss a single one of these. Each of the characters has their own campaign, and they have their own controls and movesets, as well as vastly different personalities which totally change the tone of the game. Yet all these campaigns mesh together perfectly in Shovel Knight Treasure Trove. Look, there's a reason why Shovel Knight won Best Independent Game at the Game Awards in 2014, so if you're yet to experience the brilliance of Shovel Knight, now's as good a time of any. Next up is an indie game that stood toe to toe with the biggest games in the year of 2018. Being nominated for the Game of the Year alongside God of War, Assassin's Creed Odyssey and Red Dead Redemption 2, well, it can only be the massive indie hit of Celeste. Celeste sees Madeline climbing the towering mountain of Celeste, which sounds simple enough, right? Well, you'd be massively wrong. Death is inevitable, especially if you decide to chase those hidden strawberries and try to conquer the teeth-grindingly difficult B-sides. Want a game to keep you on your toes at all times? Well, this is it. This is Celeste, and it should be on your radar. Where simple in idea and straightforward in controls and abilities, the level design and the attention to movement down to the nearest frame and pixel means that Celeste's pure brilliance shines through at all times and is a pleasure to play from the beginning till the end. With a single jump and a mid-air dash mechanic, Celeste is easy to pick up and play, while the puzzle-based platforming and quick respawns will constantly test your skills. Sprinkle a dusting of amazing storytelling on top and you've got yourself a title that should be in your library right now. Where else can you take a trip against the troubles of modern world, fighting off depression and anxiety, all while collecting flying strawberries up a mountain? Absolutely nowhere but Celeste. If your reflexes are fast and you're a master of pinpoint platforming precision, then Celeste is definitely a game for you. Don't be a fool and don't miss out on it. So we know we're skimming on the Mario universe here as we head down to Donkey Kong Country for a tropical freeze. Where the Wii U might have been a little thin on game releases, its first party offerings were nothing short of phenomenal. People may go straight to Mario 3D World when it comes to the best platformer on the system, but the real king of the 2D platforming on the Wii U was not Mario. It was definitely Donkey Kong with Donkey Kong Country Returns Tropical Freeze, and it was a triumphant return for our banana gulping ape. There's an overpowering amount of polish poured all over the visuals in Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze that makes it just stand the test of time. Okay, it's not exactly that old, but it does look as good as the brand new releases on the Switch. Although it largely plays on a 2-dimensional plane, the 3D camera work and sense of depth makes Tropical Freeze's island feel truly alive. Tight controls and clever mechanics take this retro fuel platformer to the highest of heights. Much like Celeste, Tropical Freeze isn't afraid to give you a good butt kicking once in a while, but thankfully the Switch port includes a new character in the form of the surf dude known as Funky Kong. In New Funky mode you can parkour over enemies, hover over gaps and even take a bit of an extra pounding while still enjoying the full extent of what Tropical Freeze has to offer. Celeste and Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze also had something else in common. They both have phenomenal soundtracks. Original Donkey Kong Country composer David Wise returned with some of his finest compositions to date, and frankly it put the icing on an otherwise brilliant cake already. Even though Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze has a multiplayer mode, it's definitely not its strong point. The worlds and precision platforming don't quite match up for the multiple monkeys, but for a single player experience I would honestly say it's one of the greatest 2D platformers that Nintendo has put out in recent years, if not ever. Sonic Mania was the grand return of the pixel version of the Blue Blur himself. Feeling and looking like it's been ripped straight from the 1990s, this is what happens when you let your fans do what Sega don't. Evolved from a bunch of fans making fan-made Sonic games, Christian Whitehead and co pursued their dreams and ultimately ended up making a masterpiece that became the highest rated Sonic game in recent years. Sonic Mania is one of the best examples of a fast-paced platformer that will leave your brain spinning. To go with the original Sonic, Tails and Knuckles characters, Sonic Mania had an update in the form of Sonic Mania Plus, which expanded upon that lineup and included Mighty the Armadillo and Ray the Flying Squirrel, giving Sonic Mania an even fresher coat of paint. And along with this update come a whole bunch of new modes and new multiplayer, so it's definitely one to throw about when you have a couple of friends over. Sonic Mania is the perfect link to the past, with a story that sees the crew being thrown back and forth between retro levels that we all know and love, except some of them have a bit of an extra twist, or brand new levels that slide perfectly into the past. If you're a fan of retro Sonic games but you haven't picked up Mania yet, I don't know what's wrong with you. There is plenty of callbacks and references that will bring a smile from your face to ear. And if you've never played a Sonic game before, or you're used to Sonic's 3D outings, then I would actually recommend you start here if you ever wanted to see what the 2D games are like. Sonic Mania is possibly the greatest of the 2D Sonics, but it's an all-round fantastic game. So, you might have noticed that we already have 2 great games from the Wii U library already, but we would kick ourselves senseless if we didn't include Rayman Legends. Super Mario U Deluxe is a fantastic 4-player co-op game and a brilliant experience in general. However, Rayman Legends generally does the multiplayer better. It even shakes up sections by having one player control Murphy, this little green flying dude thing, who controls and manipulates the levels while the rest of the crew hustle and bustle their way through the rest of the stage. Rayman Legends is drop dead gorgeous from the beginning, showing its flair with hand-drawn art styles that make it truly unique. Personally, I think this is one of the best examples of how Heart can really excel a game. No, seriously. But it's not just all about how pretty a game is. And Rayman Legends really does have it all. It's got tight controls, frequent checkpoints, great level design, puzzles, modes, characters, and well, absolutely everything. Personally, Rayman Legends taught me something about platformers that I didn't even realise up until playing it on its original release. That there's no point in extra lives anymore. There's no extra lives and you respawn almost instantly, and it helps the game flow in such a way that makes it even better. And look, if you're not interested in me waffling on and you don't believe me and I haven't convinced you, then there's a demo on the eShop which includes one of the game's finest levels, one of the music ones. So, what are you waiting for? Just go, download it. You've reached a halfway point, there's not too many more, but if you're enjoying this video, make sure to like and subscribe. And yeah, this is the controversial one, or it might be the controversial one. Let's see if you agree whether or not it's actually a platformer. Okay, so it might not be a platformer, but if you hear me out, I can tell you why I think it should be in this list, and you can tell me if I'm wrong in the comments, okay? Deal. Cuphead is a run and gun game at its core, akin to the highly influential Mega Man games that originated on the Nintendo Entertainment System. Renowned for being notoriously hard, Cuphead redefines boss fights by making them the actual main focus of the game. Cuphead is another crazy game to play in co-op. Cuphead and Mugman can be partnered together to try and conquer the variety of crazy giant enemies in order to sort out their debts that they unfortunately made with the devil. So why does this game belong on a list of great platformers, I hear you ask? Well, that's because the stages are littered with little bits of platforming sections, but most of the boss fights have you doing some crazy platforming while you're trying to gun the big giant enemies down, especially the fight against the tri-headed Grim Matchstick, a dragon who spits fiery balls of death at you, all while you're trying to hop from cloud to cloud to cloud in a desperate attempt to seek victory yet stay alive. Cuphead is one of those games that had press and players losing their minds when it released, and it's clear to see why. Fun, solid, and coupled with an art style to make Disney jealous himself, there's plenty of things to love about Cuphead. Now, do you believe me? Does it belong on the list? Well, let me know in the comments if you agree or disagree, and what game you'd replace it with on the list if you don't agree with me. Easily one of the best platformers to be released in the last couple of years, Yooka-Laylee and the Impossible Lair is platforming bliss with a sparkling of that all important wit and charm. It's easy to see from the very second that you boot up Yooka-Laylee and the Impossible Lair that it has more than a little bit of inspiration from Donkey Kong Country, while the main characters are very much based on Banjo and Kazooie. If you're a Nintendo fanboy or fangirl and you haven't picked this up yet, then you're really missing out on a whopper of nostalgia. Impossible Lair has enough modern gameplay to keep it separate from its inspirational predecessors, however, which includes an interactive overworld that is littered with puzzles and character interaction. And don't be put off if you didn't think too much of Playtonic Studios' first outings Yooka-Laylee, as Impossible Lair is a vast improvement in every single way. There's honestly some good level design in here, maybe not to the degree of some of the other games on this list, but for a studio's second outing to be going toe to toe with Nintendo themselves, I think that's well worth a look. Again, you can find a demo of Yooka-Laylee and the Impossible Lair on the Nintendo eShop, and trust me, if you don't stay for the gameplay, then you'll definitely stay for the puns. The Yoshi games are obviously tied very close to Mario and the Mario universe as a whole. In recent years though, Yoshi has been gaining his own traction with some solid platforming titles of his own, without the need to care for that pesky screaming baby Mario. Yoshi's Crafted World defies the two dimensions of its obviously side-scrolling platforming ways by allowing the player to fire projectiles into the foreground and the background. And it's a mechanic that really does give you the feeling of depth. It may not be the most punishing of platformers out there, or necessarily one that pushes level design to new heights, yet Yoshi's Crafted World is an absolute pleasure to play, especially if you're in the mood for something that's just a little bit more relaxing. Yoshi's Crafted World may be one of the only games on this list that has a mode that makes it completely accessible to people who have never played platformers before, which is always great for cooperative family play sessions. So if you're looking for a platformer to play with young kids, or just want something that's filled with charm and a bit more on the relaxing side, then look no further than Yoshi's Crafted World. Again, demo on the eShop. The thing that surprises me the most about the Nintendo Switch is its lack of really good 3D platformers. It's clear that Mario is running circles around other games in this genre, however, New Super Lucky's Tale is, in my opinion, one of the ones that gets closest to that feeling of the awesome 3D platforming paradise of Mario. New Super Lucky's Tale was the last 3D platformer to really grab me and keep my attention until the very end. Spearheaded by its 90s charm, New Super Lucky's Tale is styled on the very mascot heavy platformers of the 1990s. As well as being incredibly cute in general, Lucky's Tale has got some fantastic level settings and solid platforming play. Couple that with a simple to understand story and linear direction in terms of progression, New Super Lucky's Tale is one of those games that is very difficult to get lost in and perfect to play side by side with a 300-hour RPG that, well, everybody loves to sink their teeth into these days. New Super Lucky's Tale is just pure joy, and if you're looking for a platforming revolution, then this might not actually be the place to start. However, if you're looking for a hit of the 90s with a modern twist, then New Super Lucky's Tale will charm the pants right off you. If you're still looking for pure beauty, then Gris may be the one that you're looking for. Gris is a light platformer with a touch of puzzle solving. There's no baddies to tackle, yet this doesn't hold back Gris as it manages to lean into its biggest strengths. Its aesthetic, soundtrack and story intertwined in an emotional rollercoaster that sees you set to push away the darkness and despair while coating the land in a beautiful watery colour paste as you and the main character develop. Level design as a whole is simple, but that's also part of the beauty of Gris and what it plays to. Short, sweet and straight to the point, Gris knows how to pull your heartstrings and does so in a flair and passion that could only come from a small development team. Thanks for watching everybody, I hope you enjoyed this list. Now let's just celebrate 35 years of Mario and carry on playing those games until Nintendo takes them out of our hands and they're gone forever. Again, thanks so much for watching, and make sure you head over to nintendovillage.com for more news, reviews and articles, and of course stay subscribed to the YouTube channel because we do this thing every single week.